Have a great moment, everyone. Welcome again to another Academia Gonzaga material for technical and scientific writing. At this moment, we will be talking about reader-friendly layouts in technical writing. This is also called user-friendly layout format information. Before we continue, let us first have to clarify some myths and facts about user-friendly layouts or effective layouts. Now, the first question here is, does layout really matters? Well, it is a myth when you say layout doesn't really matter in technical and scientific writing, because the reality is layout matters. When the person who take hold of your letter or who receive a communication technically from you does not want the layout or see that the layout is very amateur, very informal, or very non-technical, they will immediately not read your material. So in the technical and scientific world, shall we say in passing of applications, passing of formal documentations, passing of requisitions, passing of proposals, technicality is of the highest essence. So the format of a technical and scientific writing matters a lot. And it doesn't have only to be a format, it should be a reader-friendly format. Now, second question is, can layout affect urgency and importance of written output? Well, the myth is, if it is really important, people will read it. That's wrong. Of course, that is a myth. Because in the reality, people may not read it if it is badly presented. So you come to think of it, a formal letter with almost 3 to 4 font classifications, 3 to 4 font sizes, different colors, or shall we say, not very good layouts. It has drawings, it has presentations. Something like this will always affect the urgency of the output, because even how important that is, there is a tendency that people will look at this as a miscommunication technically, and they will not read the letter or the technological or technical output that you are presenting to them. So that means the layout of your technical writing will always be important. Now, here are 5 steps to a user-friendly layout. Number 1, structure. Establish broad meaning. Break your text into clear logical sections which will be systematic to the readers to see and routinely read. So in a technical writing, the basic suggestion is the first paragraph should always be the conclusion. That is very, very basic. Why? Because we said it in our former lessons that technical readers do not actually have time to read what you are writing. So they might only read the first and the second paragraph. That's why in the first paragraph, you say everything. The second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth paragraph, they will be the explanation to your first paragraph. That is the structure of technical writing. Second, you should have differentiation. Without overdoing it, use different font sizes, styles to arrange your presentation. I'm not trying to say here that you use so many fonts. Now, if you say you use Arial for, shall we say, for underlining or for emphasis, you use Arial bold or Arial round, but you don't use any other fonts, just so that it will be very artistic. Remember, differentiation has something to do with using the same fonts in different ways, in different sizes. But never make your work something like a Christmas tree where it has so many colors. Third, okay, you have the downward flow. Arrange your text in narrow columns rather than wide ones. That is why presentation should have an illusion that it is guided from top to bottom due to the arrangement of the entries. So this is why you use columns. When you present something, it should be columns, it should be bullets, it should be numbered down, it should not be in paragraphs, because long paragraphs with long sentences does not really appeal to busy technical people. But when they can see that your work is bulleted, it is arranged chronologically, it appears in short sentences, there's a great tendency that your work will be read. That is a technical writing secret. Next, you have the white spaces. Again, the word white spaces appears. What is a white space? Well, make your text brief by having enough white spaces around it. And the entire letter should not tire your eyes or the eyes of your readers. Now, again, let me tell you, a technical writing material should not be gauged by the amount of words, amount of ink, amount of picture that you place in. It should be gauged by the content, and the content should not be overdone. The content should be enough. There should be a lot of spaces for the eyes to rest, because when your reader gets tired before they can read, because of the impression that you are trying to give with the kind of page that you're presenting to them, your readers will not read anymore the content of your technical communication. So again, a technical communication does not need to be crowded. It should be presented in a way that there are many white spaces, there are many blanks, so that the eyes of the readers can breathe or can have time to process what they have seen. Remember, a tired eyes does not really become an inspiration to read more, to read further, or to even start reading your technical written material. Okay. Now, we have here the focal point. What is a focal point? A focal point creates a dominant area of interest that catches the human eye. Usually your focal point is the first paragraph, okay, of your output, and it is often the thesis paragraph that is given an interesting layout to stand out of the rest. I have already mentioned this earlier. People who will receive your technical writing materials, they do not have time to read everything that you will write. So the best thing to do is, if you're planning to have 3 to 4 paragraphs for your technical writing, the first paragraph should be the most robust, the most complete, the mostly conclusive in nature, and the strongest, because that might be the only paragraph that your technical reader will read. So at this moment, let us try to summarize. Why is there a need for a good layout when doing technical writing communications? I only want to leave 3 very important conclusive points. Number 1, good layout will always grab attention of readers. The extra effort of creating an effective layout promotes an edge to the output that you are doing. Meaning, a good layout, one that has a good connection of a background and the things that you're using, one that has a very good combination of the fonts and the font size that you're doing, one that has a very good white space inside that letter. Point number 2, good layout creates good reading condition to the human eyes. Thus, it cancels boredom and invites more time and exertion for reading. As what I have mentioned earlier, your technical writing output will be read by a human being, and that means you have to take care of the eyes of the person reading that. Because if it irritates the eyes, if it will cause problem to the eyes, if it will give impression to the eyes that it is not good for the eyes to read because maybe the fonts are too small or the fonts are too decorative, then these eyes will tell the body and the mind not to read your letter anymore. Okay? Point number 3, good layout results to reputation of the writer. When the writer creates a good layout, it explains what kind of person the writer is and what kind of education he or she carries in life. Now, this is a very good point I want to drive to you. The way we conduct ourselves in writing, especially in technical writing, gives the person we are communicating to the idea who are we really in the world of the technical communication. So if you're writing because you want to apply, you are giving the person reading your application the idea what kind of professional or what kind of worker you are. If you are a student writing to your teacher because you have a purpose in writing, maybe an excuse letter, a letter of appeal, or any kind of formal letter, the teacher reading your letter will have the idea what kind of student are you, what kind of family taught you, what kind of school do you have in your primary, secondary, okay, levels of learning. And that means the kind of writing you write is not only a representation of the present moment of your writing, but rather the gauge of education since you start going to school until now. What kind of person are you and what is your makeup in terms of your technical knowledge? Now, before we end, let me remind you, technical writing is not only a technical communication through letter. Technical writing can be a form of a letter, a form of an announcement pasted on the wall, a form of communication made into PowerPoint presentations, a kind of communication made into graphs, charts, linear graphs, you have the bar graphs, and you have these research materials that is simulatedly pointing out the figures representing it. Those are technical outputs. Now, in all of those outputs, you have to have a proper layout. So this proper layout again, as we will conclude, we will repeat this again. Number one, you should have very good white spaces for the eyes to rest. Number two, you should use only the simple kinds of font. Okay. Number three, you should use only minimal font sizes in variation, maybe 2 to 3, just to create the differentiation between the title, the subtitle, and the content. Okay, number four, always remember that you have a reader and your reader is a human being and your reader has an eyes that should matter. If the person's eyes will not be irritated, will not be tired, will not be put into different conditions that might discourage the reader to give attention to your letter. And lastly, as a technical communicator, always remember your letter is actually a physical representation of your technical knowledge as a person. So I hope and pray that you have understood the importance of layouting this letter, because this layout may represent the kind of professional you are to the person you are communicating this letter. Once again, thank you very much for giving time to Academia Gonzaga through the technical writing domain. And our subject for this moment is the importance, okay, of a good layout. So the facts and the myths why we need to have a better layout. Thank you very much for sparing your time. Okay? Until the next Instructor's Compass will be opened, this is still Mentor Noy Gonzaga, and I hope and pray that education in tidbits here in the online setting will continue. As next time, I still hope to see you in our next Instructor's Compass. Have a great mind-filling day, everyone.